Hey guys, I'm Dimension Jump, and today I'll be doing my top 5 predictions for the upcoming Pokémon Presents. Now, I think during the weekend, this weekend just gone, Pokemon announced that they will be doing a Pokemon Presents, and yeah, this is something going to be interesting, I would say, and it's kind of like a Nintendo Direct, but for Pokemon, and this is just going to be some of my upcoming predictions and thoughts of what might be presented in the presentations. So for number 5 is DLC for Legends Arceus. Now, Pokemon Legends Arceus, I would say it's an interesting game. I think it takes a very different turn in the Pokemon series, in the sense that you still paddle and catch Pokemon, you lift them up and you evolve them, but you don't fight any gyms, you don't become the champion, and in Legends Arceus, you basically make the first Pokédex in a sort of sense, and yeah, I think it's a really enjoyable game, and I think it's really cool and interesting concepts that helps make the game very different from the other Pokemon games, like, for instance, the mainline Pokemon games. And I would say that DLC for the game would be interesting to see. Maybe we could see, a new area of the world that opens up to us, and there's a new story for that. Like, let's say we have to fight Heatran or something, or something else, and that'd be something quite cool, because then it'll be adding on to the context of the Hisuian region, and that'd be really fun. And I think and if we just added more stuff to the game, it would be quite interesting, because I feel like Legends Arceus feels like a game that should have some DLC here and there, like adding a new story and adding a new area to the game to help broaden the game out and stuff like that. And yeah, that'd be something quite cool to see, and be cool to see, maybe old Pokemon from the series having a new form, like how we've got Hisuian, Growlithe, Arcanine, and various other Pokemon, and that'd be something quite cool to see. For number 4 is new Paradox Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet. Now, the Paradox Pokemon, they're quite interesting. It's kind of like if you took the regional forms of different Pokemon from Sun and Moon onwards, and just made them more ancient and more evil looking, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I would say if Scarlet and Violet would add new Paradox Pokemon, I would say have Paradox Pokemon of older Pokemon and maybe more unknowing Pokemon. So, because in the Paradox Pokemon we've got Paradox versions of Jigglypuff, Magneton, Donphan, Gallade, Gardevoir, and various other Pokemon. But it'd be something quite cool to see, like, new variants of Paradox Pokemon, like, and they could go the route of the Paradox versions of Donphan, where we've got like a more caveman-y one and then a more futuristic-y one, and it could go a similar route to that, in which that we could see an Arcanine, and we could see that one all caveman-y and all older and weathered looking, and then we could see a more futuristic Arcanine, and it'll be something like that. It just adds to the Paradox Pokemon and be something quite cool to see. It'll just be something quite cool and interesting to see, and just how this thing could be explored. For number 3 is a new spin-off type game, and this would be, I would like to see something along the lines of Legends Arceus, in the sense that we are drawn to the past, or we're put in the past of an ancient version of a region, because with Legends Arceus we were put into the region of the Sinnoh region, but before it became the Sinnoh region, where it was originally called the Hisuian region. And I would like something like that, where we're put into an ancient version of an old region, like, let's say, Hoenn, or Galar, or Kanto, or whatever region that could be shown if we are given a new spin-off. And this could go similarly, kind of, to Legends Arceus, in the sense that we could fill out another Pokédex, but I feel like that could be too similar to Arceus, because that game was the first of its sort of thing, in terms of, oh, this is the very first Pokédex, and we're just filling it out again in this new spin-off. So maybe in terms of this, if something like we put into an ancient version of Kanto, maybe the plot of that game is to find Mew or something, because Mew is, I think, a very interesting Pokemon, I would say, because there's so much lore behind it. So if we were put into an ancient version of Kanto, that could be, we're on an expedition to find and research Mew, and that'd be something quite cool. And if it's like an ancient version of the Hoenn region, we could try and go on an expedition similarly to Mew. We could try and do an expedition on both Groudon, Kyogre, and maybe Rayquaza. That's just a maybe that could be added on to the end of the game, but it could be something like that. Instead of just filling out a Pokédex, it could be an expedition, and that'd be something quite cool to see. And we could see, and again, like with Arceus, we could see new forms to older Pokemon, and we could see like with the starters, we could see new forms and new typings to old starters and having new designs, kind of like how they did it with Rowlet, Oshawott, and Cyndaquil's final form. So it could go something like that. For number 2 is DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Now, I think if Scarlet and Violet did have any DLC, this could go similarly in the way that Sword and Shield could go. What had when they had their own DLC, in terms of they had extra story, but they were on different areas, like different areas of the map. With the Isle of Armor DLC, it was on its own separate island, and where in the other one, the Crown Tundra, it was more down. It was like more north, south. Well, it was more in a sort of wintry, frozen area, and Scarlet and Violet could do something like that, because I have heard that if Scarlet and Violet did have DLC, we could go see Carlos, because I feel like, because from what I've seen and heard, the Paldea region is quite close to Carlos. So if there was any DLC, we could go and see Carlos, and we could go in the sense of that we could go and enter this sort of tournament thing, kind of like in Black and White 2, where you could enter this Pokemon World Tournament thing, where we fought previous gym leaders and champions and stuff like that. And that'd be something quite cool to see, because the battlefield, or like the arena, could be the Lumiose Tower, and the higher you are, the more challenging foes you face. That'd be something quite cool to see. And yeah, I wouldn't mind that if the DLC was something like that, and it could have its own story in that, and let's say halfway interrupted by Team Flare, and they probably want to rebrand themselves or something, or come back to destroy the world or something, and this time they have Zygarde. That'd be something quite cool to see, or something like that. So yeah. And for number 1 is Gen 5 remakes. Now, it has been a while, I think, since the remakes of Gen 4, that being Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And yeah, I would say Gen 5 remakes would be something quite cool to see, because it could either be just Black and White on themselves, or Pokemon Black and White 2, along with Black and White. And it'd be something quite cool to see, like, those games in terms of the graphics being in full-on 3D, because there are 3D battles, kind of, in terms of whenever you're in a battle, or your Pokemon would be in 3D, but the Pokemon series wouldn't go into full-on 3D until Pokemon X and Y. And so I would feel like Generation 5 remakes would be something quite cool to see, and they could have, just the more cooler aspect of the series in terms of the mechanics, in terms of, if a Pokemon uses Bite or something, the Pokemon could rush up and just do the whole animation thing of Bite or whatever. And the same with like Dig, they could dig onto the ground, that kind of thing. And yeah, that'd be something quite cool to see. And I would like to either see, and I think there's the more possibility of the games, of the remakes being on Black and White, and there's a possibility that Black and White 2 could be added onto the mix. There might be a certain thing, but if Generation 5 remakes are announced, we just have to wait and see if it's just going to be Black and White 1 or Black and White 2 or both in the same remake thing. And yeah, that'd be something quite cool I'd like to see. So that's been my top 5 predictions or things I'd like to see in the upcoming Pokemon Presents. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.